right, guys, now I'm joined by two-time NCAA champion, world silver medalist, and U.S. Olympian Jake Herbert. Jake, what's going on, man?
Fired up now.
I'm fired up, too. Listen, give me some scoop here. I got to tell you, I'm losing sleep as a wrestling fan, and I'm going to lose sleep until Jordan Oliver is qualified. That is bothering me. It bothers me to no end, and I think we're 2 weeks away. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
So have you studied, Jake, have you studied that? I mean, you see all these countries that are coming into this thing for two guys get to move on. Have you taken the time to read about that bracket a little?
No, and it's insane. Just what I've seen from the again, right, from the history, that weight class predominantly is probably the toughest weight class year in and year out, right? You want to talk about some of the, I mean, you could argue 74 kilos, or you could argue when I was at 86 kilos, it was the hardest. But that weight class, man, it's just any given year and any time, it could be anybody, right? And the amount of guys who have not qualified for that, it's just like 2021, right? It's all up in the air. But hey, we got to feel great having J.O. there on the line, right? I mean, like, if I'm going to have anybody else that's going to go get it done, he's going to be the guy that can go get it done.
For sure. I agree with that. Hey, I caught a Jordan Burroughs interview earlier this week. It was at themat.com. But Burroughs had made a comment that he is going to go up to 79 kilograms to qualify for the world championships. Will you just tell me what that means? They're holding a world championships now? Tell me how that works, because the Olympics, obviously, things are thrown off. We're in non-Olympic year, we're holding the games, but they kept the worlds as well?
They did, yeah. So they want to make sure they have both. But unfortunately, it's going to be kind of like, I don't want to say the word jaded, like it was like the year, like, I believe when they didn't have all the women's wrestlers weight classes, but they had like the Olympics for the women's wrestling, but just like the non-Olympic weights, they had that world championship still that year. So we had a couple girls that won some world titles that year that are that. So that's how I understand that they're having it. I think it'll be probably like 2 or 3 weeks down. It's going to be essentially what they call, I don't know, you call it a watered down. Not everyone's going to gear up for the Olympics, right? Sure. They're not going to really gear up for the world championship. But again, that's a great thing to do. If you're Jordan Burroughs, why not? Why not still go out there and represent, to win a world title, to go up a little bit, to eat a little bit more? Because he still has what it takes. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, you put him in there at the Olympics, like he's still got just as good of a shot as anybody else of getting it done.
Sure. Oh, yeah, most definitely. And it is amazing in this sport how you can lose one match, or in this case, one series, and some people do write you off. I mean, I also come to the conclusion, I think that Dake is going to win the gold medal. And I think when all is said and done, Dake's hardest task is already behind him. It was getting past Burroughs, which means Burroughs might be the second best guy alive, right? And on the right day, the best guy alive. You get my point, though.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what's like so interesting, too, because like now it's like, well, of course, somebody like Jordan Burroughs is going to go put it on for 79 kilos. But what you won't see is like the craziness. I could see this coming from like somebody like Kyle Schneider in 2015 or 16, where he goes, well, I'm going to go qualify the other way, right? What's stopping Dake from going 79 kilos, qualifying it and trying to go too? And being like, hey, I not only don't want to be an Olympic champion, but I want to be a world champion too at the same time. I don't think that's worth that risk reward. Has been coming up a lot here in society. I don't think that's worth it for Dake to do, but that's very possible that you could see some guys. Why not?
Sure.
Right. If it's go up a weight class, do the same exact thing, but it's you're just risking injury and all that stuff at that point in that time. And of course, right, the pinnacle of our sport, that's an Olympic gold medal.
So Jake, but help me just understand this fully. So the world championships will be this year. So we're going to do the Olympics, but somewhere along in conjunction with that, countries are going to have to put a world team together too. And the reason I'm asking you, my mind instantly went to Jaden Cox. Okay, Cox had happened to him what happened to him, but he might still get a world tournament this year?
Yes, well, possibly. And that's where they're throwing up. And that's where, again, right, I would go to, again, anytime I have a wrestling question that I don't know the knowledge, I just like immediately text, Jason Bryant, because I'm like, that guy is just the nerdiest wrestling nerd of them all, of everything that he knows.
Indeed.
Which is great that I have. And Jason Bryant was who I went to like before Google, right? Like he was just like the best to like go to at that stuff. But yeah, there's a chance, but then there's also that opportunity. Whereas like if Kyle Schneider wins a world gold or medals again at the Olympics here, that he's automatic birthright to then wrestle off for that world championship weight class spot. So,
sure.
So who knows? I don't really know what's even going to go on, but there's gonna be a lot of good wrestling. Like I'm just like, hey, I'm a fan now, right? Unfortunately, I'm not a wrestler anymore. I'm a fan. So just anytime I can see these guys collide like that, that's what we want to see, right? Because who doesn't want to see Schneider and Cox go at it? And who's missed that, right? Like not that we got robbed of it, but it didn't happen.
Sure. You know? Oh, I fully agree with you. So the World Championships will be this year. I'm just trying to work this out in my head because I read yesterday that they're already doing pre-signups for the U.S. Open. We just had an open, but apparently we're going to do another nationals. I'm assuming that is going to help seed the mini tournament. Maybe even the champion sits out. I haven't got clarification on that. I used to know this rule, but they just changed it. So now I'm left with asking and trying to figure this out. So hold the thought, though. The Olympic Games will be contested mid-August. So now we're talking about what? We're talking about winter time. We're going to go off and do this Worlds, or that's also going to be late summer?
So they have it here. August of 16th through 22nd is the world champion. Oh, that's junior world championships.
Those are the exact dates that will be at the Olympics. So yeah, the World's got to be after that.
That's the junior worlds. The junior worlds are the 16th. I'm on the FILA calendar, or sorry, United World Wrestling calendar. See what I did there? I'm aging myself.
I'm so glad FILA's gone, man. Those crooks. I'm so glad it's UWW. I like UWW so far.
I think they're doing great things. They're stepping up. They're doing what they need to do. You know, I'm a little jaded because I know the behind the scenes, you know, maybe, hey, they put on a new hat, new coat and everything else, but they again, right, kicked it up a little bit. So they're doing a much better job, which I know the sport needed, and just the exposure too. But I think that also caught up with the internet. So it says here October 2nd through 10th is going to be the World Championships. So they're probably going to look to rush in every aspect, because I don't think you can just put together a world team. I think they have to, with all the rules and bylaws, and I hate rules and bylaws, right? Like, it's just not where I'm at. But it's like, hey, set in place that they're going to have, yes, another U.S. Open, right? And they're going to have another world team trials and go through the whole system for this stuff.
Sure. No, I would think that too. And even when I'm looking, I was so happy to hear Jordan say this, though, for multiple reasons. But one thing that he's never had to do is come back. It's one of those things. So we don't actually know, and he doesn't know about himself how he's going to deal with that. I thought it was very courageous statement by him. And I know his heart's ripped out. 2 weeks removed to have set a new goal, up in weight, which in many ways is going to be even harder. And he set a big one, which is not only to make the team to win the gold. So I thought that was incredible. I thought Jordan really let us know a lot about his character by making that statement.
Well, it just shows you how hard this sport is, and yes, how great of a person. I mean, Jordan's, again, right, one of my heroes, right, at this point in time. But you go back to 2012 and like he wins that gold medal and dominates the way that he did in that cycle, and just what he did. The fact that, right, I think it's a huge shock that, hey, he didn't win a gold medal in 16, but it's even a bigger shock because you tell me he's not even on the Olympic team again. Right. That's insane. Sure. Now, it's no shock that it's, hey, Kyle Dake that's beating, because it's like, wow, Dake has been right there the whole time. But man, that's hard. I mean, to go from gold to not placing to that, I mean, it just shows you how rare that is. You look at guys that get these, like Buvesa, Satiev, who have 3 Olympic gold medals. You're like, wow, how flipping hard is that to do? Right. How hard is that to do to get these multiple? John Smith winning 6 in a row, putting down 2 golds like that. Like, that's insane. Of that, and somebody that can do it with the poise that Jordan has and being able to handle it like the champion he has. I mean, that guy is not just who you want to be like on the mat, he's who you also want to be like off the mat. The way that he supports his family, the way he's very family oriented. I mean, he's got his values in line, right? God, family, and then business. And for him, it's wrestling.
Sure. And I got to tell you, I didn't know some of these things about him. I really didn't know. When I watched this interview, I thought, what incredible praise he deserves to have, but he's also teaching people. Sometimes you don't always get what you want, but you don't go and be a baby about it. You don't go home. You get up tomorrow with a new goal. I was just very proud. It was a very simple statement that he made, but it made me look at Jordan different and in a more positive light, which I'm like you. I'm a fan, so that's hard to do. Hey, let me ask you a Greco question. Do you follow much of the team? And specifically, are you following Tracy Hancock?
Tracy Hancock, was he who beat Kamel Bay?
No. So D'Angelo Hancock, but they call him Tracy. He's 97 kilograms. 96 kilograms.
Joe Rao, right?
Yes.
Joe
Rao is down a weight. I didn't hear what you said. Joe Rao is down at 86. It's one weight class above that. Tracy is on like his 5th team in a row, 23 years old, which I did not realize about him. He made his first team at 18. He's held that spot. He's only 23. He's been to every world championships, every junior world championships, the university world championship. Go back, he was in the cadet games. I mean, it's just one of these things where he's got so much experience, and he's beat the top guys. As a matter of fact, the defending Olympic champion, Tracy, locked him up, souped him, and threw him in about 14 seconds. So he can beat anybody. He's wildly explosive. I'm giving you the full rundown on this guy. He's wildly explosive, but he also has that experience in conjunction with the youth. Some of the guys, Jake, and you might attest to this, but you get hardened over time. You go out there a few times, but as your body gets older, you almost don't get better. You leave a little piece of yourself out there. He's still on that cutting edge point of this, where he is getting better. At 23 years old, he will get better just by being alive, just that maturity, and I'm starting to see it.
Yeah, and especially being exposed that early of an age. Anytime you can go out there earlier, look at the Henry Cejudo example, right? Henry went out there just right after, right after high school. He took the gamble, said, no college, I'm going to go right into this, and it paid off for him.
Sure.
Right. And being around that, because you're at the best level. That's, I mean, again, when I started going consistently to the Olympic Training Center, and that was 2006 was my first time over there making a university. Well, you have to get good because you're going to get your butt kicked. And I don't care how good you are, you're still going to get your butt kicked out there. Right? No matter who that is come out there, you're going to have a sore day, an off day, a bad day, and somebody, maybe at a different weight or something, is going to get you, and you're going to be very humble.
For sure.
I love that, man, especially for Tracy. I'm looking at his pictures now. I know definitely who he is. I couldn't believe it's that much domination. 5 years he's locked that down. So if anybody's going to have a shot of a medal, man, that's going to be freaking awesome. And not just, like I said, any medal. That's going to be a shot of a gold medal.
He is probably the most dominant U.S. wrestler we have. Just by example, he made this team 2 straight matches, but he finished both matches. They couldn't even go 6 minutes with him in the final wrestle-off. So, I mean, he is far and away our best representative. Then it's just a question of when. He's beat all the guys. Now you got to beat the guys on the right day, at the right time, at the right tournament that they're going to call the Olympics. I'm stating the obvious here, but I think you should keep your eye out for him. I'll put it to you that way. And another one is Adam Kuhn. You know, Kuhn's in a similar spot, Jake. Are you following that same thing as Oliver? The same tournament. I mean, they'll be supporting each other and one other American named Jesse Porter, but the three of them will be out there trying to get the same thing done. And I don't love that. We were talking UWW a minute ago. I believe Kuhn is a medalist. He is a finalist from the last quad. You're telling me that's not enough to get you into the games? I disagree with that.
Yeah, and that's what's so tough about it too, because then anytime you put it in there, there's always calculation of risk, right? Like, hey, you get a bad ref, you get a bad call, you have one bad throw, somebody grabs a leg and doesn't see that too. Now he's done and he's out, right? Like, that's what's insane about this sport is you gear everything up for one day to be perfect. And you can't help it if, a week before you sprain your ankle or your girlfriend breaks up with you or you get a cold, you get this, like you put all this into this for this one hope and this one dream. And that's what's insane when you still have to have this extra layer. But again, how well did that work out for Jaden Cox, right? Jaden came up, took me out as the number 8 seed, took me out, made the team, and then had to go on this whole journey just to get a world bronze medal where he had to go qualify the weight. And the guy earned it. Right. He went out there and showed time and time again why he's one of the best wrestlers in the world and got it done. So as scary that it is, I don't like it. I'd rather have to be qualified before, but then you got to look back and be like, well, then why didn't you qualify it before? Right. You should have qualified it here at the games or here beforehand or at this competition. Like it should have been done.
So Jay, give me some scoop. One of your old nemesis, Ed Ruth. Ed Ruth just took a job, but he took a wrestling job. He signed with Bellator. He's doing great in MMA, but he just took a wrestling job. What do you know about that position? Is he returning to the mat? Is he just coaching guys? What's up with Ed?
I just say coaching. If you get a guy like Ed that's around, like you got to get him in there. Like Ed, and that's the biggest thing, right? When I look back, I don't have many regrets. If I had to go back and change my career differently, I have maybe an hour of my life on the mat with Chael Sonnen, who's one of the top, wrestlers ever at around my weight class, right? Well, if I'm a world silver medalist, why do I not have days, weeks, and years with him, with one of the best guys? And when you get somebody like Ed Ruth there, right, one of the best, to come up through to make a world team, to win 3 national titles, guy should have been a Hog Trophy winner, right? You asked me, that's unbelievable that he doesn't have one, winning 3 national titles there. But himself, he needs to be in that wrestling world. So I think it's going to be a win-win. He can still get wrestling training in because, as you know, too, in MMA, right, when you go and you train MMA, the easy days are those the hard days are the wrestling practice days. And they're only once or twice a week, right? Because you're going to go in and hit bags and it's all still hard. But in comparison to a college grind in a college year like that, it's people always tell me, I'm talking to Joe Warren, talking to everybody else, the wrestling part's the hardest part. And you only get to do it once or twice a week. It's not the same. So I think having that level of experience, right, of Ed Ruth is going to be great for the wrestling community, and it's going to keep him sharp. It's going to keep him on there.
Jake, take me back. You just said Chael Sonnen, and I've always wanted to ask you this. Let me get this off my chest now. The year is 2011. The tournament is the trials. You are the national champion. You're sitting to the best of 3. You find out Chael Sonnen got on the scale that day. Did you find out the same way I found out? Because it was after he had weighed in that the wrestling world found out. Were you hearing murmurs that Chael's going to get on the scale?
Yeah, I was hearing it before, and I was getting ready for him. But then,
so you
getting ready
it.
for him and seeing it is...
You heard it, but you believed it. You believed he was going to show up. And you're going
Wanted
to kick his
right?
ass, right?
Absolutely. You know what my problem was? I was wearing his shoes wrestling him. I think that was the difference. Really hard to beat a guy when you're wearing his shoes is what I found out.
Sure. But I would imagine, I mean, you were on your run. Yeah, he shouldn't have come back. I'm thinking, I'm speaking for it, but I imagine that's your mindset. He shouldn't have come back. And if he comes through the tournament, I'm gonna let him know why. So when he came through that tournament, I mean, was there ever a point where you start looking around, and go, man, this guy looks a little better than what a guy off 7 years should look like? I mean, at what point do you realize that's still Chael Sanderson?
Well, yeah, you know it the whole time. And I think it's the mindset. Like, I'm never one to back down from a challenge or an opportunity. And that was just an opportunity to prove myself being the best. And I wasn't the best in the day, right? It was great. I could go to sleep. Yeah, I went toe to toe with him. I got a takedown. He got a takedown. But there was like, it just can't explain like his awareness that he had, the way that he moved, what he did. I mean, I'm sure if I had more time, just like anybody, right? More time to wrestle him, I would get better. And it's going to force me to level up because he's already up here. Right. And great. So I was somewhere teetering between here and here, but just on that day, that style, whatever it is, it's there. Right. And it sucks losing. It didn't make my team, but he went out and got the job done and was able to qualify the weight class for the Olympics, took 5th at the Worlds there, which I still very interesting. Would love to find out from him. Right. I don't think he'd ever have this in person, but in person, I'd love to see his views around his wrestling career, right? Being an Olympic gold medalist. Being, 4-time national champion, Hodge Trophy winner, all that good stuff, but never winning a world title.
Sure.
And what's kind of crazy is I bet you with somebody with his competitive mindset like that, he probably doesn't look at that. Again, I don't view myself as a success in the sport of wrestling. I never got done what I needed to get done. I was successful. I didn't reach my goals. I didn't win an Olympic gold medal. I didn't win a world title. Got close. Great, but close only counts in hand grenades and horseshoes, right? All that crap. So I consider myself, yes, successful, but I didn't succeed. And I'd love to really dive into his mindset around that and how he goes with never being a world champion.
Sure. Yeah, that's an interesting point you make. I'm sorry you feel that way, by the way. I mean, I've got to disagree with you. You are a success and you should be able to feel very good about yourself. But you do make a good point. And something that happened at a world championships. He was second. Remember, he lost to the Russian. But there was another world championships where he made the team and didn't go and sent Eggum instead. And Eggum made it all the way to the finals. But you are right. Yes, the way Chael's mind, he might have regrets over that. You're right. I'm going to send him a text message and I'm going to say, I was talking to Herbert earlier, and we're just making sure that you are completely depressed with your life, that you didn't win the world. That you didn't win the world championship.
He's overcompensating in his coaching career for that, for sure.
He could have got on the Wheaties box twice, right? But he didn't have the world champ. Yeah, no, I'll let you know what he says. I'll screenshot and forward it to you.
Yeah, it's Bill Zadek said the same thing, right? He came up to me one day during the practice, and I forget what I was down about. It was something where, I mean, hard to picture me down, right? But it was something where he came up to me and he goes, Jake, do you know what the worst part about being a world champion is? And I'm like, sitting there, I'm like, the worst part about being a world champion, Bill? I'm like, what? You have too much. You've achieved your goal. He goes, looks me dead in the eye and goes, not being a 2-time world champion.
Sure.
I was like, oh, there's that word, that not enough, that more. And I think that's just what's messed up with all of us listening to this, that us wrestlers is yeah, great. I win 1 national title, but I don't just want 1. I want 2.
Sure.
I want 3. I want 4. Like you want that enough, that more. And that word enough, I don't know, right? Like I don't sleep. I don't lose regret over my wrestling career. I'm more than blessed, right? I thought, hey, if I could even graduate high school and wrestle in the NCAAs, that'd be great. So I've already gone above and beyond what I'm going to do. I have no regrets with that mind shift. But there's just so much in this mind shift in here and how mental this sport really, truly is.
All right, Jake, you got a heart out, buddy. We're there. Thank you for your time today. I'm going to go call Chael. I'll let you know how that goes, and you and I will regroup, and we'll finish this conversation. But I appreciate you today. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Huge fan. Thanks, my man.